How crazy has it been watching all these dudes from Dagestan
just
invade MMA and dominate?
I knew it. When I was about to start fighting and when I started fighting, I said, man, when these Russian dudes from these regions start to come, it's going to be a problem. Because you know how good they were as wrestlers, right? What's going to happen when these guys come into fighting?
Dagestan, a land of rugged mountains, unyielding traditions, and a culture of warriors.
We saw Khabib, right? That was the complete version of a Russian fighter. And you see Islam, and he possesses all those same skills with the striking. Umar is the next level of that, where he possesses the striking, he possesses the wrestling, but he's also got great grappling. So these Russian guys just keep jumping level.
But it's not just about the wins. It's about the mindset, the discipline, and the brotherhood that shapes these warriors. What is it about this region that produces champions?
Fight fans, welcome. Discipline, toughness, determination. The few traits you'll need to survive in one of the harshest environments in the world, Dagestan.
You know how good they were as wrestlers. What's going to happen when these guys come into fighting?
A nation that has taken the world by storm. How does a country of just 3 million become world leaders in MMA? Brace yourselves for the heart-pounding tale following the warriors of Dagestan. Without a doubt, the most decorated and celebrated product of Dagestan is Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov. Undefeated in 29 bouts, Khabib was known for his constant pressure and dominant grappling. He retired as the UFC lightweight champion after defending his belt 3 times with all finishes. The Eagle's legacy extends beyond his record as he exemplified discipline, humility, and respect. Nurmagomedov was born in the village of Sildi. With a population of 208 people, it's situated in the North Caucasus mountain range and is notorious for a history of hardship. The treacherous landscape makes for an isolated place, characterized best by cold weather, little food, and conflict. Considered by many the best lightweight of all time, Khabib began his training aged just 8 years old under the tutelage of his father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, where he founded Eagles MMA.
I tell people, I'm like, if you never train with the guys from Dagestan, from somebody on their team, you don't know what it feels like. It's not regular jiu-jitsu. Like, it's like quicksand where...
Abdulmanap, a master in freestyle wrestling himself, would prove to be the catalyst to launch the careers of many fighters.
They grow up around fighting in all forms. Yep. They're also, their technique is exceptionally good because they grow up in it. They grow up, they don't understand anything else.
None would prove more formidable, however, than his son Khabib. What makes the Dagestani such a force to be reckoned with? Is it their relentless pressure, forcing opponents into exhaustion with an onslaught of takedowns? This impressive cardiovascular ability is something Khabib shares with many of his countrymen. Athletes from wealthier nations will sleep in hyperbaric chambers or train briefly at altitude to increase cardiovascular endurance. Examples include Yair Rodriguez, spotted training at a high altitude at an Aztec temple. Through the annals of time, Nurmagomedov's ancestors had to be expert fighters in order to protect their families and livestock from external threat. Khabib continues this tradition of fighting proficiency today. Skills that were once used for protection and survival, now utilized for wrestling and sambo. While Russia has long been revered for its wrestling program, Dagestan stands as a testament to its own exceptionalism. At the 2017 Russian National Championships, over half of the finalists hailed from Dagestan. And in the Rio Olympics of 2016, Dagestani wrestlers seized 5 out of 18 medals. Wrestling serves as a lifeline for those yearning for escape in Dagestan, fueling a relentless pursuit of excellence. This reputation has made Dagestani wrestlers coveted mercenaries, representing countries like Azerbaijan, Poland, and Bahrain. The Eagle's strongest weapon, however, was his mentality. With most of the population in poverty, Dagestan is not a place you will find expensive training complexes and fitness spas. These are replaced with vigorous hill sprints, carrying boulders and fighting one another on a daily basis. This primitive and unforgiving training methodology breeds a formidable fighter, relentless in the face of adversity.
And I think it's that hard training. Those guys like Khabib would maintain that pressure throughout the entire fight and break guys down. Their ability to fatigue guys to a breaking point, I think, is something they do best.
Training in the Caucasus Mountains is not the extravagant fight camp one might expect from a world champion like Islam Makhachev, something the Nelk boys found out the hard way.
Gassed. Regretting those Russian beers, man.
Come out.
An iron will and a dedication to his faith meant Khabib was never drawn into indulging in the superstar athlete lifestyle.
How strict the faith is over there, right? And they tie in everything they do to their faith. It's sort of like how Ali was, like, I'm not gonna lose because of Allah and things like that.
In the infancy of MMA, the debate for the greatest of all time will forever rage on. Fighters come and go, but for a shining moment, the Eagle soared above them all, leaving an indelible mark. Today, the ascent of Dagestani fighters continues, with rising stars like Islam Makhachev, Umar Nurmagomedov, Magomed Ankalaev, and even new rising prospect, Sharaputin Shara Bullet Magomedov, blazing their paths to glory, hoping to reach the same height as the Eagle himself. In Dagestan, the phrase "born to fight" takes on a whole new meaning. It is a world where fighting chooses you, where physical prowess determines your social standing, and the very mountains and hills upon which you live under forges you into a weapon. Whilst many countries utilize progressive training methods, with an emphasis on scientific theories and high-end equipment, Dagestan thrives on determination and will. The Dagestani takeover of the UFC becomes more apparent by the day, leaving us all to ponder who will be the next champion making their way down from the land to the mountains.
Oh, alhamdulillah. Today, I want to say it was my last fight.
The red sun rose this morning. Dark skies pronounce your warning.
After Khabib Nurmagomedov retired from the sport of MMA, a void was left behind him.
You go out the way you wanted to as the undisputed UFC lightweight champion.
Khabib Nurmagomedov, the UFC lightweight champ, has made it official.
To walk away at 29-0.
An empty space reserved in the hearts and minds of fans for a fighter they considered the true champion. Khabib's dominance over those brave enough to challenge him merited his occupation of this space. But who could replace such an iconic figure? Poirier? Gaethje? McGregor?
It's gonna be Islam Makhachev.
'Cause we are the outlaws.
Look out for this guy. Islam Makhachev is a killer.
Oh, gets him with the knee.
Oh, big punches. High-level grappling right there.
Fresh blood would have to rise through the ranks, just as Nurmagomedov did. And who better than his best friend and protege, Islam Makhachev?
Anybody you talk to about Islam says this kid is the next world champion. This kid is it. Nobody in the world can beat this kid.
Islam Makhachev hails from the Republic of Dagestan, a region in Russia that has produced some of the finest MMA athletes in the world.
You guys know, when my kids went to Dagestan,
oh, now you
we smashed.
Makhachev's talent quickly became evident as he consistently dominated the Sambo and wrestling circuits in Russia, becoming a Combat Sambo world champion in 2016 and two-time Russian national champion. Like many fighters from Dagestan, Makhachev's discipline, work ethic, and fierce competitive spirit made him a force to be reckoned with, even before stepping into the UFC cage.
Я понял вот именно ММА, что это моё, когда я выиграл по боевому самбо.
One of the pivotal moments in Makhachev's journey to the UFC was his association with his close friend and mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Кто-то это называет тренерством, кто-то называет это там братством. А мне главный результат.
Khabib, already an established superstar in the UFC, recognized Makhachev's potential and played a significant role in helping him secure a contract with the promotion.
Islam gonna be 2022. He's gonna be best lightweight in the world.
It is all over! A great UFC debut! And Islam appears to be one of these guys whose names you'd better get used to.
Islam was matched up with a fellow up-and-comer, Adriano Martins. Entering their fight, Adriano had amassed 3 impressive wins over Darren Cruikshank, Juan Manuel Cruz, and Rustam Khabib.
Moving right into that right.
In the first and only setback of his career, Islam learned the hard way that anything can happen in the octagon.
Islam got knocked out his first UFC fight. It just goes to show you that he's human. You forget when he's that dominant.
Interestingly, not only would this upset prove to be the biggest victory, the last too. After consecutive losses to Leonardo Santos and Cajun Johnson, Martins was cut and continued a winless career in regional Brazilian promotions.
I really don't think that there's anything that he does that I'm not better at. You know, I think I'm just a more complete version of him. Just a little shorter, a little better looking. So.
After bounce-back wins over Chris Wade and Nick Lentz,
his power from there was, I never felt that before. I've never felt that from another 55-pounder.
Islam was pitched against Gleison Tibau.
I'm waiting anytime.
And nobody is bigger at 155 than Gleison Tibau. Gleison Tibau looks like a f***ing light heavyweight.
Gleison presented a stern test to Makhachev. He had been part of the UFC since 2007 and had some big names under his belt in Jeremy Stevens,
Stevens came right back. Starts to become us trying to set something up.
Pat Healy, Rafael Dos Anjos,
Brilliant takedown, but look. Nice. Good left hand by Gleison, and he's going for it. Left hand by Gleison. Big shots by Gleison Tibau. Another one. And again Tibau with the left.
Having fought his friend and countryman Khabib previously, many felt the mutual opponent would prove a good test to see where Makhachev's skill set was compared to his mental. But while Khabib fought Tibau to a competitive decision, Islam cleaned his clock in less than a minute.
Oh, big left hand. That's it. Wow.
And if you talk to anybody at AK, Cormier, Josh Thompson, Luke Rockhold, they're like, he's actually does things a lot better than Khabib. And you're like, what the f?
After a further loss to Des Green, Gleison was cut from the UFC and had a mixed career. Highlights being wins over Rory McDonald and Will Brooks. But mostly, he exists today as an aging journeyman, spending most of his time in the losing column. 6 months later, Cajun Johnson would also be easily dispatched by the young Dagestani.
And so I have to be honest with you, Cajun, when I saw this fight was booked, I was thinking, man, they're trying to get Cajun out of the UFC. That's the first thing that came to mind. What did you think?
My ground game is probably a little bit better than my striking game. So I'm not really worried about going to the ground with Islam Makhachev.
Khabib does that. They trap your feet with their legs so that you can't build back up.
First round armbar that left fans begging for more.
Hey, DC, tell this guy I deserve for top 15. I wanna fight with Brock Lesnar.
The UFC heard the fan uproar and responded with one of the best prospect v prospect matchups in recent memory.
The man is easily one of the most well-rounded fighters in the entire UFC, with crisp striking and insane grappling.
A then 16-1 Makhachev versus a 13-1. Rahman put up a hell of a fight, but in the end, it would be Islam who would progress, as not just a future member of the top 10, but a potential challenger for the title.
A lot of people coming. Thank you, brother.
What does it mean to you that Khabib just brought you the belt and put it down there and said, because you're going to be champion one day?
I'm very waiting when he retired. I wanna fight for this belt. This is my dream.
Despite the loss, Sarukian remains a contender in the division, with relevant wins over Matt Frivola.
No, I was... Big one! Oh, look at Sarukian.
Damir Ismagulov.
Made that one mistake of going for a knee.
Faded.
Yeah.
Joel Alvarez.
That's over. Look at that. There's that amount of look. And you're in line. That's not do it.
Joaquim Silva.
Yeah, an early takedown. Oh, and a knee to the butt. Nice. Oh, good timing. Oh, my God, that's it. Good job.
Should Arman emerge victorious in his upcoming bout with Beneil Dariush, we could well see a rematch between himself and Islam in the future.
When I fought first time with Islam Makhachev, you gave me 3 weeks. Give me 8 weeks, I'm gonna smash him.
A lot of people are very, very excited about you fighting Islam because they feel like he hasn't had a real challenge. And suddenly this fight is announced and everyone said, well, this is a guy that can put him in all types of trouble.
I don't like to give the fight to 15 minutes. I want to finish the fight. That's my style. That's what I'm coming for.
I have some problem between during my training camp, you know, what I hurt my feet. Makhachev is one of the best guys in the lightweight, and soon I think he's gonna fight for the title.
It was time to test Makhachev against a true hard hitter.
Because all my life I'm training with champion, I'm ready for everybody.
Enter explosive power puncher, Drew Dober.
Dober is a beast, and I've seen him compete lately, and he seems to be getting better.
Dober's seek and destroy style earned him the title of knockout artist, evidenced by stunning performances against Polo Reyes, Nasrat Hakparas,
Stays disciplined. Oh, there it is. Left hand. Oh,
and Alexander Hernandez.
There you go.
I think he's overall a great martial artist, and when I make him uncomfortable, I want to see what kind of mistakes he decides to make.
As always, Dober tried to bring his hard-nosed aggressive style. However, Islam's wrestling and control proved too much, succumbing him to an arm triangle in round 3.
Dude, those Dagestani wrestlers really know what they're doing. They're a problem that no one has seemed to have solved quite yet, but man, I'm working to solve that problem, working for that rematch.
Today, Dober remains one of the most dangerous lightweight strikers on the planet, devastating knockouts over Terrence McKinney, Bobby Green, and Ricky Glenn. Remind us that Dober will always be one to watch.
I have 7 win streak now. Please, I need some top guy. I'm ready. I will be ready for anyone.
A big problem Khabib experienced on his road to UFC gold was many say they wanted the fight, but few really did.
To me, Khabib is one of the scariest too.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's beating you down. He's not only beating you down, he's breaking you mentally. And for me, that is worse than anything. For me, it's the scariest one, pound for pound.
This was an experience shared by Islam as well.
Islam, me and Khabib are on a group message, and we're talking about that. Who's next? Who's next? Nobody will fight him, Ariel. He's getting off. He's offering him. Nobody will fight.
One man the UFC could rely on to step up and fight anyone, however.
I've seen things, he's everyone's saying he's the next Khabib and he's just gonna waste you and like he's just gonna destroy you. It's just like
was the always game Dan Hooker.
I'm gonna smash your face in. I'm gonna end you.
Dan Hooker really is a very dangerous prospect. He's a wild man, but he's a great technician as well.
Jim Miller.
And there's another good point. No one else is gonna take the fight. I'm the only guy that's gonna fight is Makhachev.
He's like a very skinny guy. When I'm gonna be close with him, I'm gonna take him down when I want.
Unfortunately for the hangman, though, it will be him walking to the gallows.
I feel very happy because I don't have injury, not sweating. I don't need to take shower after fights, you know.
You did show that there are levels to this game and you are on another level. I mean, it didn't even seem like you broke a sweat.
Because this division now a little bit sleep. They lose, win, they just come to make business. But I'm coming for take this belt.
Beneil Dariush and Islam Makhachev, you still want to make that fight next?
I do.
So some breaking UFC news. The big fight between Islam Makhachev and Beneil Dariush is off due to an ankle injury suffered by Beneil.
My toe got stuck in the mat like never before. My ankle twist.
I don't even know, but it ended up snapping my fibula, which is a small bone in my leg.
Still left without a top 5 opponent willing to take him on, Islam found another opponent in Bobby King Green.
Ready? Yes, sir. Let's go.
She wanna flip for the gram. Baby, something who I am, so she wanna do it all over again.
I guess you guys are being a little you know. Well, it, I'll do it. Let me show you how I do this shit, you know? Snatch that shit and I'll go in, you know? Give me paid and I'll do it.
A constant staple of the division, Green held the scalps of Lando Venata, Al Iaquinta, and Nasrat Haqparast.
Nice job by Green. Great off by Green.
Yeah, Bobby Green ain't afraid of nobody. So if anybody's gonna step up to this challenge, this scary person, it'll be King Bobby Green.
Let me show you some real G shit. Get in there and do this with the highest guy in our division. I'm gonna walk in there like a gangster and punch that guy right in his face.
We're gonna talk inside the cage. I'm gonna take him down and tell them, hey, let's go, get up.
However, the experience of Green wouldn't be enough, as the prodigy of the division stormed through Green in just the first round.
He's so patient, he's so strong, and he just goes little, and a little until he gets right where he wants to be.
This wouldn't be the end for Green, though. He currently rides a compelling 2-fight win streak over Tony Ferguson.
My goodness, this is tight. He's out cold.
And Grant Dawson.
Oh my God!
Although not a title contender, Bobby continues to bring unpredictability to the top 15 at 155.
Champion right now at lightweight is Charles Oliveira, but a lot of people think that the biggest threat to the throne is one Islam Makhachev.
Like 11 win streak versus 10 win streak, you know, like 2 new blood for lightweight division, you know, and I really want Charles and Islam fight.
Finally, after 11 UFC wins, it was time for Islam Makhachev to fight the UFC lightweight championship.
Islam Makhachev, Charles Oliveira, UFC 280, going down from Abu Dhabi.
His final boss, Charles do Bronx Oliveira.
Tá faltando alguma coisa aqui, não tá? O campeão se chama Charles Oliveira, o Charles do Bronx.
Vai pegar, se não bater vai pagar. Charles do Bronx, Charles do Bronx, é do Brasil. Vai pegar, Charles!
In his recent title run, Oliveira defeated some of the sport's greatest in Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier,
and another one. It's under the neck.
Justin Gaethje.
Landing the right hand. That is gonna do it. Charles Oliveira, 11 in a row.
What's this fight going to look like? What are you going to do to Islam Makhachev on October 22nd?
I'm going to shock the world yet again.
But Islam felt different.
You know, he always pressure his opponent and try to knock him down because nobody stop him, nobody take him down. He go always forward. But my game is different, my plan is different.
However, where others had allowed Charles to rebound against their early success, once Islam's game started rolling downhill, it didn't stop.
Sometimes we're here and it's not our day. I promise you, I'm gonna get this back.
Now, after rebounding against Beneil Dariush, do Bronx is hoping to get his rematch with Islam.
I didn't watch it. It wasn't me. I wasn't there. This is a different Charles. This is a Charles that's thirsty. The Charles that you're going to see is the Charles that you know that's thirsty for victory, that's hungry.
Who's the champion?
To beat Oliveira is one thing. To beat him the way he beat him is another. And as fast as he did it, he looked incredible tonight.
I want to be #1 pound fighter in the world.
Islam's next challenge would be on a whole other level.
Man is an absolute savage. He has zero quitting him and all win.
Featherweight world champion and pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, Alexander Volkanovski, was challenging Islam in a campaign to become a 2-weight champ.
The lightweight on the line, pound for pound #1 on the line. Let's do it.
Volkanovski's the GOAT right now.
Mounted on the walls of Alexander's trophy room, Chad Mendes, Brian Ortega, Max Holloway,
Holloway does look outstanding.
Oh, that was good.
Another right hand.
and Jose Aldo.
Follows up that kick with his big fight right now. And now a big right hand from Alexander.
What do you think about a matchup with Volk?
This guy is so small. I'm gonna stop this guy. This guy is so small. He's not my level.
Oh, he's not that strong. He's not that big. Or he's not that good. These guys think he's invincible. Remember that when I get my hand raised, yeah? Don't change that shit, because that's what's gonna really piss me off.
After a back-and-forth war in which both fighters were pushed to their limits, Islam emerged victorious in a unanimous decision.
Really? That's insane. He got robbed. He got f***ing robbed.
Why in that fight? Because you outstruck him, you outlanded him in a massive way. Massive.
Look, I thought,
beat Islam.
I thought he beat him. I watched it again over and over again, and it really comes down to that second round, and I gave him an advantage in that second round.
It's kind of like watching a fight, man.
Who's winning at the end?
Yeah.
Who's on top at the end?
And who would you rather be at the end of the fight?
Exactly.
A lot of people thought I won that fight. I thought I won that fight, and I moved up.
But when the fighters rematched later that year, Islam left no doubt in who reigned over 155.
I think he's just beginning, man. I think he's got good hands. He's a good boxer. He's got a good ground game, and just a great wrestler.
Volkanovski remains the featherweight champion and is set to cement his legacy as the greatest featherweight of all time.
But then you did have a face-off. Ilya was there. He's been talking. In your mind, what is the greatest challenge that you want to go out and seek?
New faces is a good one. New challengers is obviously a good one as well. So that's the thing. You got a new face in Ilya. People will say it's a new challenge. I don't think it's a challenge. So I'm looking forward.
In the world of MMA, Islam Makhachev's journey from Dagestan to UFC champion is a story of tenacity and skill.
One of the best goddamn pound-for-pound fighters out there. The dude is a monster.
Guided by Khabib Nurmagomedov, he conquered the division. Makhachev's story reminds us that champions are forged in the fires of adversity.
You are starting to put together an unbelievable resume as a great champion.
His legacy continues to grow, and the world awaits eagerly for the next chapter to be told.
My belt for my coach, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Nurmagomedov, he steps down, but then you have Umar. He looks great. Phenomenal. Completely different style.
Yep.
His so dynamic. His kicking is so dynamic. It's so dangerous and quick. Good. His striking was on point. Everything was on point, and he's more threatening wrestling.
A rising star in the world of mixed martial arts, Umar Nurmagomedov began his life steeped in the traditions of combat sports.
I have a dream. I want to be for one line with John Jones, Khabib, Demetrius Johnson, GSP. For this goal, I think I need 5 more years in this sport.
Alongside his brother Usman, and with the mentorship of their legendary uncle, Abdul Manap, Umar was destined for greatness from the very beginning.
Umar Nurmagomedov is the toughest challenge for any of those dudes, including myself. He's seen his brother and his cousin win world titles, and he wants to be next.
Umar was born in Kyzylyurt, Dagestan on January 3, 1996. In his early years, he and his brother Usman would begin training in freestyle wrestling before eventually including Muay Thai as an interest.
My 2 young eagles, 2 brothers actually, both undefeated.
Both brothers took to combat sports, and it became a no-brainer for the pair to train with their uncle, Abdul Manap. Who was already having incredible success with Khabib and Islam in the UFC.
This my belt for my coach, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
By the time he was 19, Umar became a combat sambo world champion at the WCSF World Championships. The following year, he won the bantamweight division in amateur mixed martial arts at the WMMA World Championship. And with that dream foundation for success, the pro leagues were just around the corner. After demolishing Rishat Karisov in his first professional bout, the next victim to place their head on the chopping block was Ulukbek Amanbayev, who found out just how dangerous Umar can be as a finisher. Not soon after came even more impressive victories over Ali Misabayev and Valisher Rakhmonov, neither of which stood much of a chance against the young Dagestani. Having secured a further victory over Nauruz Zamikov, Nurmagomedov took a step up in competition to fight Shuti Yamauchi. A fighter with a 16-8 record, Yamauchi had considerably more experience than Umar's previous opponents, but it wouldn't prove enough to withstand what Nurmagomedov brought to the table. Now establishing himself as a noteworthy talent outside of the UFC, Umar found himself matched up with fellow prospect Fatkidin Sobirov. Sobirov was an impressive 13-1 at the time, with several impressive finishes. However, when it came to fight night, Nurmagomedov proved he was by far the more quality up-and-comer of the two. Fatkidin bounced back with 2 solid wins, but upon his arrival to the ACB promotion, he seemed to struggle on the bigger stages on the regional scene. But the journey for Umar was far from over. It was at this point the young prospect would make his first appearance in the Professional Fighters League, where he shut out fellow undefeated fighter Saidyokub Kakramonov.
Umar Nurmagomedov!
Undeterred by his first loss, Kakramonov continued to scrap it out on the regional scene, and even worked his way into the UFC.
He's out! He's out! Saidyokub Kakramonov!
Unfortunately for Yokub, one lost to Said Nurmagomedov, and the promotion felt they had seen enough of his talents. Umar briefly returned to the Battle on Volga promotion to face off against Wagner Lima, whom he dominated in classic Nurmagomedov fashion. However, Umar was frustrated with his recent run of decision victories, and so made sure in his fight with Taras Gritskev that the judges would not be necessary. Nurmagomedov then returned to the PFL to take on Sidamar Honorio, someone who had a promising career up until facing Umar, but then never won a professional contest afterwards. Despite being recognized as one of the best prospects in the world, Umar was still trying his best to get noticed by Dana in the UFC. But after his round 1 submission victory over Brian Gonzalez, the 23-year-old Russian had proved he was more than ready for the big show.
I felt like Islam was the next version of Khabib. He possessed the same type of wrestling skill and grappling, but he was just a little bit cleaner, better striker. I think Umar is the next level of that, right? Where he possesses the striking, he possesses the wrestling, but he's also got great grappling, and his striking, he can do more. Whereas Islam's not spinning. Islam's not doing those kind of weird, diverse kicks. Umar can, right? So these Russian guys just keep jumping levels.
In his UFC debut, Umar would be matched up with the highly respected regional champion, Sergey Morozov.
2 times already, but a big right retaliated hand here.
For Sergey Morozov.
That's enough. That is enough.
Morozov, who was also making his UFC debut, was not only the former M1 global champion, but had already fought top-tier competition on the regional scene, such as Movsar Ivloev.
Можно ли сказать, что Умар это самый серьезный твой соперник в карьере или нет?
Блин, я так не могу сказать. Умар молодой, перспективный боец, набирающий хорошие обороты, с громкой фамилией. Ну ты знаешь, я никогда бойцов себе не выбирал, бился со всеми подряд.
When the cage door finally set on the 2 newcomers, though, Umar demonstrated he was levels ahead of Sergey and polished him off in round 2 with a constrictor-like rear naked choke.
Umar, congratulations. Big win on your UFC debut. How does it feel?
Thank you so much. I'm feeling great. I think now is history.
На русском говорит, you're not ready for English, please.
Not one to be easily demoralized, Morozov returned to the win column in his next fight over Khalid Taha, and after a tough fight with Silva de Andrade, he's currently riding a 2-fight win streak. Having seen how Umar deals with fellow debutants, the UFC was naturally curious to see how Nurmagomedov would fare against a hard-nosed veteran. And they had just the man in mind.
Teeing off and then kicking the calf.
Back with a slam.
So smart.
Wow. Kelleher, one of the other.
There's a jab. Ryan Kelleher. Oh, big punch.
I like challenges, you know, that's part of this game, and trying to figure out like how good you really are. So I like fighting an undefeated guy with that last name with a lot of hype behind him. Like that motivates me. You know, make him feel my pressure and make him kind of panic a little bit. You know, I think undefeated guys, they got a lot of pressure. You know, he wants to keep that O and he wants to stay undefeated with that name, that last name. You know, Khabib went undefeated his whole career. I'm sure that's in the back of his mind. He wants to kind of repeat that whole thing. So yeah, I'm out there to steal that.
A member of the UFC since 2017, Brian Kelleher represented the most skilled and tested opponent Umar had faced so far. But all of that experience would prove no match for the youth and skill put on display by the Dagestani powerhouse.
I think he's definitely got the potential. I mean, he's a really good grappler, and his striking actually, you know, for Nurmagomedov, his striking is actually probably better than his grappling. Throws really good kicks, he's fast.
After the defeat, Kelleher was never able to find his form again, and suffered 3 further defeats via finish to Mario Bautista, Cody Garbrandt, and Cody Gibson.
Umar Nurmagomedov he's a problem.
Now 2-0 in the UFC, it made sense for Umar to face someone else on a hot streak.
Both stances is a very Ford, who's unable to make the walk.
Coming behind his jab.
Oh, big fight for Manus. And it's gone in round 2. Manus moves lip. Oh.
He's got that choke. Wow.
The tap. Nate Manus.
Nate Maness had won all 3 of his UFC fights in the build-up to his fight with Umar, and now a place within the bantamweight top 15 was at stake.
You got to respect the grappling of those guys, you know, submissions and wrestling. But the thing about Umar is he actually does pretty well in the stand-up. You know, he's got really good kicks, teep kicks. He's got a good question mark kick. But at the end of the fight, man, my hand will be raised. I get paid the same, so 4 minutes in sounds just as good as 15 minutes in. So, yeah, definitely going to put him out.
In the end, the superior wrestling and distance management of Umar would prove too much for Maness to handle, leading to a one-sided scorecard for Nurmagomedov.
I don't care if they give, I'm ready. If they give me quick road, I'm ready. If they give slowly, I'm ready. For me, important to win every my fight, and one of the day, it's gonna be happen. You have to become champion.
Nate would go 2-1 in his next 3 UFC fights, but in an interesting turn of events decided not to resign with the UFC, and instead sign on to the BKFC promotion, where he's set to make his debut in December.
Umar will do a good job, and I would say a better job than young, early on Khabib did.
Now a ranked member of the UFC bantamweight division, the path to a title shot became more clear for the rising contender. This didn't mean that competition was easy to find, however, and many fighters ranked higher than Umar didn't want the smoke.
Speaking of bantamweights, do you know what the latest with Umar Nurmagomedov is?
Everybody's asking. Yeah, we were talking about him earlier. You know, that's a guy not everybody's beating the door down to fight. So
keen not to keep a new star on the sidelines, Umar was booked to take on longtime UFC vet Raoni Barcelos.
Barcelos. Oh, he's clipped him.
Man, great left hook. Oh, big right. Couple.
Want to go to the ground with him.
Oh, the big kibosh. Look at that. Barcelos threading the right hand. Oh,
and now he sneaks to the back once again and tries to get the right arm under that chin.
Feels like he's put in the right work. Big second round. He hurt a bad none. Ooh, nasty knee.
Barcelos had a mixed bag of performances in the UFC so far, but had never been finished in the promotion. Something Umar quickly changed.
Oh my goodness!
How about that? Explosion!
Since losing to Umar, Raoni has continued to be inconsistent, and should he come up short to another prospect in Peyton Talbot, his days in the Premier League of MMA could be numbered.
I told I wanna fight with anybody. Nobody don't say, hey, I'm here, I'm gonna fight with you. Where are you guys? I'm here in the cage.
It became apparent at this point that nobody at bantamweight wanted to risk their career fighting Umar. Despite being on the brink of breaching the UFC top 10, Dana and the matchmakers would have to bring in fighters from outside the roster who would be willing to take the risk. Enter Bekzat Almakhan.
Yeah.
A 10-1 regional prospect who had been impressing hardcore fans in the Octagon Fighting Championship. Although Bekzat should be commended for taking the fight, his skill set would not prove enough to get the better of Nurmagomedov. A silver lining, though, is he will have certainly put himself in the UFC good books for taking the fight, and many fans wait with great anticipation to see how he performs against typical UFC competition.
I hope it's gonna be more easy. This guy monster.
You win this fight. Do you have to start calling people by name?
You think it's gonna be work? I don't know. They just talking about he don't deserve, he not beat nobody. How I didn't beat nobody? 4-0, it's not bad.
Just when it seemed impossible to find a ranked UFC fighter for Umar to compete against, a surprise announcement revealed that Nurmagomedov's next fight would be with none other than Corey Sandhagen.
Corey Sandhagen.
Individually.
Corey Sandhagen does it again.
Straight away. Oh! He's moving.
Oh my goodness.
Corey's good. He's so diverse. He's got so much going on. I love watching that guy fight because, like, when he's going after folks, he's giving them so many looks.
I'm gonna go toe-to-toe with Umar and everything. Grappling, striking. I'm gonna prove that I'm better at every single area of this fight. I'm gonna prove that I'm better than him. And on Saturday, I plan on shaking Khabib's hand. I plan on shaking Umar's hand and apologizing and saying I'm sorry that I had to beat you.
Fans were eager to see how Umar would look against the very best of the division. After all, Sandhagen had already proven he was contender material. But when the cage door finally shut, Umar proved just why he was the boogeyman of 135. Relentless drive and dedication to the sport have set Umar apart as one of the elite bantamweights in the UFC today. From his early days training under the watchful eye of his uncle Abdulmanap to each decisive victory in the octagon, Umar has demonstrated that he's not just a fighter, he's a force to be reckoned with. With his impressive skill set and continued growth in the sport, the question now becomes who will be the one to finally test this rising star.
I think Umar should get a title shot after the winner of Merab and O'Malley.
As the competition in the bantamweight division heats up, it's only a matter of time before the champion will have to answer to Umar Nurmagomedov.